Welcome to day number 41, and we're looking at 1 Thessalonians chapters 4 and 5. And Peter, there is a third prayer. We dealt with two prayers in yesterday's video. There is a third prayer, but we're not going to focus on that for today. But what we'll discover as we look at chapters 4 and 5 is the Apostle Paul begins to talk about a hope that the follower of Jesus has. And then he makes this reference to what's called the day of the Lord. As a matter of fact, there's a heading, Paul didn't write it, but there's a heading above chapter 5 that talks about the day of the Lord. So in looking at that, how is hope different for the follower of Jesus during that time to the church in Thessalonica? How is that different than the people that are around them? Tell us a little bit about that.
So in chapter 4, verse 13, Paul says, "We don't want you to be uninformed, brothers, about those who are asleep," those people who are dead, "that you may not grieve as others do who have no hope."
Yes.
And what Paul very well may be referencing here is the kind of philosophical world that's at play in Thessalonica, in which there's no belief in these forms of ancient Greek philosophy that history or time is going anywhere, or that it culminates somewhere, or that it has any sort of shape. You're just, Thursday after Wednesday after Tuesday after Monday after.
So when you die,
there's no
hope.
And it's not that Greeks didn't sometimes believe in a kind of afterlife.
Right.
It's not when you die, well then you don't go anywhere. You just rot in your coffin. Or it's when you die, you go to hell. What it is these people think the life they have now and the life they'll move to just are what they are. But Christians believe that God has started to transform history in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, and is moving towards a culmination of history when everything's going to get changed and everything is going to be the way God wants it to be. And that gets called the day of the Lord.
And we draw hope from that. So Peter, what's the technical theological term that you'll talk of? It's kind of the overarching term in case some people are reading N.T. Wright's or some of the other resources that we reference.
The big term we use is eschatology.
Okay.
Which when I was in middle school, I was told scatology was the study of poop, and it has nothing to do with that.
What?
So,
scat.
Scat. That's a real thing. And I was a little thrown. When I was like 14, I read theology, and this theologian, Jürgen Moltmann, was talking about eschatology, and I was like, I don't really think I know what this is. But in Greek,
what does the word actually mean, eschatology?
The adjective for last is eschatos. And so the noun form of the last thing is eschaton. And so eschatology is the study of the last thing. And sometimes that sounds like we're talking about like the end of the world and Jesus coming back.
The apocalypse.
The whole big... But it's actually a theological field of study that is born out of the recognition of the importance of this future hope that Christians have. So much so...
That's real to us now.
And there's one theologian that I like who says sort of cheekily that God writes the past from the future. That God has a determined end for the world where all things are set right and is drawing history towards it. And so history's anchor is its future for some Christian theologians.
And there's hope in that, right?
And that could be a little bit of a strong way of wording it, but the shape of that's about right. And it comes from this Old Testament tradition, which is often called the Day of the Lord. And it starts off as a recognition or a remembrance of this remarkable day when God leads Israel through the waters of the Red Sea as they escape Egypt and they crush their enemies. And that phrase, that idea of a big day where God judges what's wrong and saves what's right, gets tossed around on all these fronts. And so, famously it's used in Amos.
Which is one of the Older Testament prophets.
One of the minor prophets, which is a statement about how big his book is.
The length of the book.
Not how important he is. in which, God's actually saying like, well, this day of the Lord, it's actually going to come against you, Israel. Right. Anyway, we will refer you to the Bible Project video on the day of the Lord, which is one of their older videos, so it looks a little bit more pencil drawn. Yeah. But it kind of takes you through the development of this idea.
And we think that's important to understand.
Oh yeah,
that, right?
It's necessary in order to understand what Paul thinks Christians' lives are meant to look like and what they can mean. So much of it is invested in the fact that God has a future that's coming in which it's all going to finally be like it's supposed to be.
And everything will be put right. And that's what the day of the Lord is. So what we're going to do now is we are going to pass the baton off to the Bible Project so that you can watch their special video that speaks about the day of the Lord. So God bless you. Make sure that you click on the link in the email that'll take you to the Day of the Lord video by the Bible Project. And we look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's video.